The Land Rover Defender. This thing is a true icon when it comes to being a real off-road capable SUV. Now, when the new Defender first came out, Land Rover let you defend yourself against the gruesome uncharted terrains with 2 doors, the 90, or 4 doors, the 110. Well, now you can go out there and defend with a longer Defender that still has 4 doors, but it gets a 3rd row with seating for up to 8 passengers. So yeah, now you can go out there and get lost in the wilderness with your whole neighborhood. My name is Omar, and this is the Land Rover Defender 130. So yeah, who cares about car prices being at an all-time high or the talk of a recession coming to hit us really hard? Americans will continue to love their large luxury SUVs with 3 rows. And because of that love, we now have a total of 3 3-row SUVs from Land Rover. You have the Land Rover Discovery, you have the ultimate luxurious and pricey Range Rover, and now you have this, the Defender 130. However, unlike the Discovery or the Rover, the Defender 130 offers seating for up to 8 passengers. Which is absolutely crazy, but done in a very clever way. Actually, before I keep driving and tell you more about how this drives, let's pull over and talk about the practicality side of things, because that's what 90% of you watching this video actually care about. And let's start off with the practicality side of things by checking out the 2nd and 3rd row as well as the cargo area. So hop in the 2nd row, and I don't have official figures of how many inches of legroom you have back here, but I don't think that really matters. I'm about 6 foot tall. That is my seating position. As you can see, I have plenty of room. It is actually very, very comfortable back here, but it gets much cooler than that because each and every single seat in the 2nd and 3rd row of the Defender 130 can fold down individually. That means not only can you have 2nd row captain chairs, but you can even fold down the middle seat in the 3rd row and have 3rd row captain chairs. The thought here is that you can carry a total of 6 people in here and still throw in their skis or surfboards if you're into that active or adventurous lifestyle. But yeah, the 2nd row here is super comfortable and very spacious, just like on the Defender 90 and 110. Now to access the 3rd row, you just pull this latch right over here and the 2nd row moves forward and slides forward, giving you a little amount of space to crawl back there. And once you squeeze through and get back here and get situated, you'll see that the legroom back here is actually pretty good and the seats are pretty comfortable. They aren't cheap quality seats or, an afterthought. They're actually pretty comfortable, and I could sit back here for a pretty long ride. That said, of course, most people buying this will only be going on adventures to Costco, and they'll have a ton of cargo room for all their Kirkland products. To that end, you have a total of 15.3 cubic feet behind the 2nd row. With the 2nd row down, you have a total of 35.8 cubic feet behind the 2nd row, and with both rows down, you have a total of 76.1 cubic feet, and since this is basically a giant box, you can fit anything that you want in here. So yeah, while most large luxury SUVs can carry 7, the Defender 130 can carry 8, which to me is like the most American thing ever, but from Britain. And again, since the Defender is super boxy, headroom in any row or overall cabin volume is not an issue, which is something I can't say about most of the other large SUVs that this competes with. Speaking of the competition, the list is endless. You have the really famous Cadillac Escalade, you have the Lincoln Navigator, the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, the Lexus LX, and then you have the Germans, the BMW X7, and the Mercedes-Benz GLS. So how does this drive compare to those? Well, let's just say that it doesn't feel like you're driving around in a giant boat like the American competitors. In my opinion, this feels more like you're driving a BMW X7, but smoother. Even though this is bigger and longer than the other Defenders, it still manages to drive like them. It's extremely comfortable on everyday roads, and most of that is thanks to its off-road capabilities. You have an air suspension that just helps this glide down the road. You see, most of the American large SUVs in this segment have that big boss feeling where you feel like you're compensating for something. They have that bounce, that wafty feeling. And in my experience, the BMW X7 is the best driving large luxury SUV. If you don't want to feel like you're driving around a giant yacht, the X7 does the best, and the GLS follows right behind that. Now this Defender 130 does that a little better than both of those. I recently tested the BMW X7, and while I absolutely love the ride of it because it doesn't feel too big, it isn't as smooth at handling bumps and imperfections on the road as this Defender 130. This thing just glides over everything, and it's very Range Rover-esque in that sense. Now, under the hood, this P400 model that I'm testing here carries the same 3-liter turbocharged and super mild hybrid charged 6-cylinder from the Range Rover SE that I just tested. It makes a total of 395 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque, and it's mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, you can also get this with a smaller 296 horsepower setup, but I wouldn't recommend that. Because this engine is so solid, the power delivery is instant, the acceleration is seamless. It's not super quick by any means. Going from 0 to 60 will take you 6.3 seconds, and you have a top speed of 119 miles an hour, so you can't go quicker than that. That said, since this is a Defender, you have a ton of drive modes in here like sand, gravel, mud ruts, rock crawl, and all of that. Of course, 90% of the people that will be driving this will never enter any of those modes and will just drive around in comfort. You don't have a dynamic mode in here, unlike you do on the Range Rover SE, and I'm guessing that's because there's nothing that dynamic about the Defender unless you get it with the V8. However, you can pop the transmission into sport mode. And when you do that, it moves a little faster. Not by much, but it does give you a little boost. Now, I personally have been driving this around with the transmission in sport mode because in regular drive mode, it does feel just a little bit sluggish. Of course, that means it'll drink up gas a little quicker as well. You get 17 miles per gallon city and 21 miles per gallon highway. After driving this around for a week or so, I'm averaging a total of 16.9 miles a gallon. But yeah, for everyday driving and for most people that will buy this engine is great. The Defender 130 doesn't come with the V8 that the other Defenders do, so you're missing out there. But yeah, in terms of ride quality, this is very similar to the X7, but even smoother. And it doesn't feel too heavy or large, which in my books is a big plus for an SUV of this size. Of course, keep in mind that since this is a Defender, you're sitting very upright and straight. It's almost very British in that sense, like, keep your back straight posture, hands on the 9 and 3, and don't misbehave. My British accent's terrible, my God. Now, I don't know who will be taking the Defender 130 off-road with their family, but in case you do, you have all the off-road stuff that the Defender comes with. You've got terrain response, you can get terrain response too, you have weight sensing and all of that, and you can drive through almost 3 feet of water in this. Which is great for suburban families that live in a flood zone that will be buying this because, you know, they're never going to be driving this through rivers and lakes. And I'm not making fun of them, I wouldn't do that either, that off-road life isn't for me. But that said, let's talk about this interior. Unlike a lot of the competition, this interior is definitely more rugged and more utilitarian. It's definitely not for those that want massaging seats or a car that becomes your therapist. You've got visible nuts and bolts, you've got this section with real physical buttons for your climate controls, some off-road shortcuts, and a real volume knob. Which is great because they didn't stuff everything into the infotainment system. Not to mention, you do have a ton of storage in here. The Defender is very clever with a bunch of little storage areas or cubbies in the front where you can put your phone, your keys, and other smaller items. And I always miss these little storage areas after I'm done driving a Defender around for a week. You never know what you have until it's gone, kind of like your last relationship. Nonetheless, that's not to say that it isn't luxurious in here. It's actually quite luxurious. Right from the base model and up, you get these really, really comfortable leather seats. Land Rover is definitely extremely underrated when it comes to the comfort of their seats. You get heated seats as standard, which you can turn on by pushing the climate knob and turning it to the right. Cooled or ventilated seats are optional. And you can also throw on a heated steering wheel in here if you want to keep your hands warm. Now, in terms of the climate zone, you get 3 zones as standard, but you can upgrade that to 4 zones if you want to keep everybody comfortable. Heated and cooled seats in the second row are obviously optional, but get this, you can also add on heated seats in the third row, which is a big plus because that makes the third row seats actually usable. Now, when it comes to tech, all Defender 130 trims come standard with this 11.4-inch touchscreen display that houses their new PV Pro infotainment system. And I gotta say, no matter which Jaguar or Land Rover product that I've tested with this new system, it's always been outstanding for me. You get wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto as standard. You also get navigation if you want to be daring and not use Google Maps in Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. But yeah, overall, this system is great. It has never given me any issues. The performance is great, and it's very easy to use once you get the hang of where everything is. Jaguar and Land Rover have never really had a good reputation when it comes to their infotainment system, but this new PV Pro system changes all of that. Now, when it comes to driver assist tech, the Defender 130 is pretty packed. You get all the goodies including adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, parking assist, blind spot monitoring, traffic sign recognition, and all of that. But what's awesome here is that you get this really solid camera game as standard. Not only do you get a 360 surround view camera, but you also get a 3D surround view camera as standard. It's not a part of a package or anything like that. This is here from the base model and up. And since this is a Defender, it gets even better because you get an off-road camera system where you can magically see what you're driving over. And that should come in very handy for 99% of the people that are going to be buying this because, so they don't run over their kids' toys or even their kids. But yeah, in my opinion, this interior is a really nice place to be. It's luxurious, it's rugged, it's customizable. The customizability obviously being the big attraction with seating for up to 8. Now let's talk about the looks because in my opinion, the new Defender is one of the best looking SUVs out there. This looks just like every other Defender, but longer. And most of that longer part sits in the back and kind of makes this look just a little bit strange. I don't think everyone will be a huge fan of the looks from the back, and I'm sure the internet will have a lot to say about it, but you kind of get used to it. I mean, hey, at least this doesn't have a massive grille where Land Rover is lying to us about how the big grille helps cool the engine or some crap. That said, all Defender 130 trims come standard with LED headlamps and LED daytime running lights. They alone give this a really nice front presence. My headlamps have been upgraded. And then you also have your multiple square LED taillights in the back, which I personally think look awesome. But yeah, overall, solid looking vehicle, but just a little bit awkward. Now, before I give you my final thoughts on the Defender 130, let's take a look at some of the daily ownership highlights that I love to show all of you. You have a total of 6 cup holders. You have 2 in the front right there, and then you have 2 right here in the second row in the center armrest. And then the third row gets 2 tiny cup holders on each side. Here are the keys to the Defender 130, same old Land Rover key. Nice. Door close sound from the outside, and from the inside, solid. Charging game wise, up front you have a USB-C and A port right there, and a wireless charger right there. And of course, let's do an indicator and horn sound test. Indicator first. Nice and technical. Now for the horn sound. That's solid. All right, so should you buy the Land Rover Defender 130 over the competition? Again, the choices are endless, but Land Rover did price this very competitively. If you go for the base 130S, you're looking at a starting price tag of $68,000, and you get a lot of standard features for that. You get heated front seats, all the driver assist tech that I just showed you, a Meridian sound system, and that really cool camera game. However, the 130S can only be had with the slower engine option. So if you can, I recommend going for the SE, which starts at $78,300, and that's where you get the P400 setup, along with the long list of standard features. Now, if you really want to show off at your kid's next soccer practice, you can go for the 130X, which starts right under $100,000, but I wouldn't recommend it. That just feels like a total waste of money to look more luxurious in an off-road focused family vehicle. That said, that's pretty much on par with the rest of the segment, including the Cadillac Escalade, the Lincoln Navigator, the BMW X7, and the Mercedes-Benz GLS. The Lexus LX and the Grand Wagoneer are out here charging crazy amounts of money for a starting price tag like they're the best in the segment. But yeah, if you want something a little rugged, luxurious, and something a little different for your family of 8, then I think this is a really solid option. The comfortable ride quality and the fact that it doesn't feel too heavy or large to drive around is a big plus. The exterior is great even though it looks awkward from certain angles, but it will definitely make you feel a little unique. And just in case you want to leave suburbia and drive off into the wilderness with your family, you can do that without any hesitation at all because this is a Defender. Either way, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. My handle is @OmarDrives. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care. Peace. I started saying peace this way instead of this way because somebody told me that in Europe, that's a bad word. Let me know if you know about that in the comments. I don't. By the way, let me know if you've been enjoying the new style of my videos. It's more driving focused rather than a full walk around. I still cover everything, but it definitely is more driving focused. I think it's doing well because the retention rate is higher, so there's that. By the way, I'm passing Naval Weapons Station Earl. This is where Netflix is building their new studio. They're taking all of this down and building a giant studio in New Jersey. Maybe I'll get an OmarDrive show one day, who knows? That'd be great.